Right now, smart investors in Los Angeles County are secretly buying single-family homes and turning them into multifamily gold mines using SB9. They're still buying in the same neighborhoods as you are, yet they're getting 3 times the amount of cash flow. Let me show you how. Let me show you a great example of an SB9 being used, getting 3 times the amount of cash flow. This was a traditional single-family home. It was originally unit number 1, and there was only a garage taking place at the ADUs right over there. So unit number 2 is the ADU, and unit number 3 is the SB9. Originally, this property would have been getting $3,500 per month, and now it's turned into $11,000 per month on this single property. So you might be wondering, what exactly is SB9 in the first place? So SB9 is a California law that allows you to add another primary unit onto the lot. And an SB9 is not an ADU. An ADU is an accessory. It's being valued inferior to the single family. So the Los Angeles requirements for an SB9 unit is that it has to be located in a single family residential zone and has to be half a mile close from the nearest transportation. And also, in addition, is to have it not in like a hazard zone, like fire, wetlands, and etc. So there's a lot of confusion with SB9s in public knowledge. When people think of SB9s, they essentially think of lot splits, and it's not always that. There are 2 different classifications. So the first one is an SB9 lot split, which allows you to split the lot off and then have the SB9 on the other side of the lot. With this, you have to have the intention of residing within the property in the next 30 years. It can either be the main unit or the SB9 unit. And a lot of cities draw out this process. And because it's so new, it's like when ADUs first came available, even though it's state mandated, there are cities that will make it almost impossible to build an SB9 unit in this case. And it often takes a year for the lot split. So the second option is an SB9 no lot split. So you can essentially have a single family, another ADU, and the SB9 unit in total. And it often takes half of the time compared to doing an actual lot split. So I would say like 6 months, really depends on the city. And there is still a way where you can put 4 units onto a single property per code of City of Los Angeles from the memorandum. So right over here, it essentially says, if you combine the SB9 to the single family, it's now considered a multifamily unit. Then you can now add ADUs of your California mandated ADU and then your just traditional ADU. And with that, you can have an unrestricted amount of how large the ADU can be. So if you're out offering on SB9 potential properties and you want to make sure it's eligible, I would check Zemus if it's in Los Angeles. So you can actually go on the website, and let's say I want to check this property right here. And then I'm going to go to the planning and zoning, and I will look for SB9 eligibility. And then I click view. So it's going to give me like 4 to 5 different sections. It's essentially a checklist. If it says all answers must be yes or all answers must be no, you essentially just go through it. So when getting it appraised, the appraiser will essentially have 3 different types of uses they can use to value the property. So there's an income approach, comparable sales, which you essentially see in residential homes, or just essentially using the replacement value of essentially building the ADUs and SB9 units. So they will typically use the income approach because there aren't as many comparable sales. So we're going to do an example of Lakewood properties with SB9 plus ADUs and try and value them. So we're going to be looking at this property on Hedda Street. It was listed for $1.995, and the projected income that they estimated was $12,800 per month, and essentially it would trade at a 6.2% cap rate. But we know when someone is listing a property, they always tend to overinflate the rental numbers just because what we know is that when listing a property, people tend to overinflate the rental numbers. That way they can support the price So you always want to make your due diligence and making sure that you get accurate rental numbers. And you do this by comparing the different rents that you would get in the same exact neighborhood. So essentially, what I did on this property is that $12,800 per month that they projected, I actually think it would rent out at $11,200 per month, which is essentially a $1,600 difference. So since it sold at 1.91 in reality, which is an $80,000 difference from the price tag, it actually sold at a 5.5% cap rate. So we kind of know that in this exact neighborhood, sales with SB9 units and ADUs would most likely trade at a 5.5% cap rate if we went through the income approach. So there's one currently on the market, very similar layout, with the single family right over here, SB9 unit on the top, and the bottom ADUs, an ADU. So they're listed at 1.975 right now. The projected income is $12,500 per month, and it would essentially trade at a 6.1% cap rate if it actually sold at that price. Yet we know now that you have to do the background research on the rents. So I came up with it actually would rent out for $11,800 per month, which is essentially a $700 difference in income. And if we backtracked it, in this neighborhood, people buy at a 5.5% cap rate. So right around that 1.95 price range, it would sell.